If we call our customer, they're going to leave. When they need us, they call us. They do what they do. We do what we do.
One time I shopped it and it didn't look good, so we're just going to leave you there.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Stephen Harrington.
Hello, Miss Kelly Donahue.
Dakota, Piro. We have so many names.
I know. We love a good hyphenation at APP.
Oh my gosh, so true. So true. It's like that should be the new hiring requirement. How many names do you have?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But we're talking here today kind of about the thing that brought us together, like our first date.
Our first date was a renewal review. Well, it was an agency assessment that led to a renewal.
This is our marriage, like the agency assessment. Like we were dating, and then we decided we're going to move in together and just do renewal calls. So like I have all this passion for renewal reviews, and I have a passion for renewal process, and I just don't understand why other agencies aren't as psyched as me about making renewal calls.
Well, it just so happens I was talking with a client today who were onboarding to the renewal program. Yeah. And I was like, look, let's get real for a second. Your team is going to throw 400 reasons why they can't do this at you, and I am going to help you through every single one.
Yeah.
And she's like, really? Because I don't know if they're going to have enough time. And I'm like, oh, they're going to have enough time.
I know. It's like, so this is the big renewal process thing that like I've been coming across lately. I'm going to walk this down with you because like you'll appreciate this. Oh, our marketing person's going to get upset if I don't put the appropriate microphone on.
The appropriate microphone must be on, yeah.
Just realize I'm not following our process. You can hear me okay, right? We're good?
I can hear you even better.
That's good. That's how we want it. So this is what we're doing. So there's a lot of non-renewals going on in the industry, right? Like lots. Fire zones, water areas, just carriers are constricting because reinsurance is changing. So there's just a lot of non-renewals. And so the pushback community is like, well, we have to deal with so many non-renewals. And I'm like,
heck yeah, that means we get to re-underwrite.
So just do a renewal review then. What? And it's like, the dawning hasn't hit that if somebody's getting non-renewed, there should be a renewal review because you want to get the updates. If they have a security system, a new roof. We had one person got non-renewed. This is a good story. It's on today, an agency, a person got non-renewed and they called to get all the updates. And the homeowner now has a pet goat.
Oh, I had some of those for a while.
Yes. Well, in this one area with a pet goat, the insurance was $18,000 a year with the one market that would accept it. Without a pet goat, it was $6,300 because they're very coastal, right? So you have to make a decision. Is your pet goat worth $9,000?
Absolutely.
Well, I said, get it on Instagram.
Right.
Get it in some cute goat pajamas. Do some online yoga videos with goats and people be happy. But yeah, the homeowner had to decide. So just funny goat story. Let's start with like some easy renewal process ways people can ease in. So I want to talk today about the two different models we do because I go back and forth and I kind of pick and choose based on the agency when I do renewal reviews with them. But the first one is what we did with you guys, which is like head first, all in. Let's just start calling everybody. The second one is what I call like the gradual, like, okay, we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, we're going to do this. I have very strong feelings on both of them.
I have very strong feelings on both of them. It might be different than your strong feelings on both of them.
Yeah. So to me, it's like, let's just dive into the end of the pool. Let's just call everybody. If it doesn't work, we call 60%. We're still calling 60% of people we didn't call before. And then I can kind of keep the pressure on and motivate people and incentivize them to get up the top. Because as you know, after 60 days of renewal, it's like the clouds part and there's a rainbow and it's like, whoa. And I don't know what it is, 60 days. If you just put your head down, it's like burpees or running. If you just do them for 60 days, at the end, you're like, suddenly not so bad. So like, to me, I just want to go full force, all New England. Let's just get up and do it. But then there's this newer population of agents that's a little more gentle and a little bit more delicate. And we have a lot of things going on in the world. And so we want to sort of ease our way into renewal calls. And my fear is we never get there because every time you have to like re-rip the Band-Aid and say, we're going from 2 a week to 3 or 2 a day to 3 a day. And they're like, oh no, like the tears happen all over again. And like the vomit. And I'm just.
So then we do agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we're picking a number out of the sky regardless. So whether it's 2 a day, 3 a day, 3 a week.
Everybody, how about just everybody?
Everybody, it's like we're just picking a number and it's just a number. So I could be like, we're going to make 10 calls a day.
Yeah.
And people will be like, I could be like, we're going to make 1 call a day. And they'll be like, so whether it's 1 or 10, it doesn't matter. We're just picking a number.
Well, and I think for me, this is going to sound twisted to everybody out there. So this is probably why you don't want to work with me. Like, I want to be upfront. Like, like I am not the best consultant or trainer on our team in any way, shape, or form. I need to get that out of my mouth. But like, I started like with renewal calls now. One of my favorite things to do is like let people know they're doing it. Because of course, it's a great blessing in our job to be able to deliver the message. And sometimes the leadership team is like in the bathroom, like, I'm going to go to the bathroom now if you want to tell them.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm happy to tell them. Just, can I get some security on the way out? No, it's never that bad. But I like watching people and then they freak out. Like I'm kind of like, I'm having this dramatic moment. And then what happens is I say, well, how many calls do you think it is a day? And everyone then stops because they have no idea. Right. Like,
right.
The overwhelming emotion of it got taken care of, and there's no facts in the room. It's just straight F word feelings. And so I'm in my kill zone, right? Because I hate feelings. So I'm like, everyone's in the feels. They're all feeling, the feeling's not happy. And then like, they don't know. And so then they're like 25
a day
per person. And we're going to die. And then I go, sweet pea, your book's not that big. It's on average 4 a day. And then they go, yeah, I did the math. Do you want to see the math?
Yeah.
And I go, so I just want to let you know, you're going to talk to half of them. So half, we're just going to leave a 30-second voicemail. The 2 you're going to talk to, one of them would have called you anyway at the worst time, like Friday at 3:30 when you had no brain cells. And when they call you, they're not happy. So this became a whole thing. And so you're just going to call one more person and make them happy. And they're like they don't believe, but I have like a little, like there's a little light at the end of the tunnel that maybe I can get them there. And I love that moment. Is that twisted?
No, I think it's perfect. I also like to clarify, we're going to call them once a year, not on every renewal for every policy.
Right. And we also have to get them to remember that there are like your frequent flyers and they're people you never talk to. So your boyfriends and girlfriends are not who we're talking about. We're talking about the other peeps out there that they pay their bills. They don't have claims. And we don't ever talk.
Why are you calling? And you're like, just checking in.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's 3 renewal processes I break down in my blog. Everyone should go check out the blog or my other podcasts or subscribe to our podcast. And everybody should go check out our 10 processes. Whenever you're listening to this, in January of 2023, we launched our new course, 10 ridiculously amazing insurance agency processes. And Stephen, can we talk about that one for a second? Because it's like totally different than the other courses we've done.
It's like an agency in a box almost. Like if you need processes, just get it and fill in the blank.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? Like I've been using them with my agencies. So there are a couple of things. There's like a 1-page graphic overview. So like the cheat sheet, right? So that's in Canva. You can actually go edit it yourself to model it for your agency, right? Then the next thing, and this is the one I love, it's the leadership question. So like you could sit down with your team and say, okay, let's talk through this stuff. So it's like all the things you need to figure out before you build your process. And then you just plug it into our process template. And it's like, to me, this is amazing because the amount of time I don't now have to spend going and asking people questions is huge.
Yeah.
So this course is coming out.
And the processes are all in a Word document that are very editable.
And there's role-playing videos that we're going to have where we can role play out like how to get someone an EFT, how to take a claims call, like just things so people hear the soft skills that they miss a lot. Like somebody says, I need to make a claim. Okay. Auto, home. Like, oh.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll get that number for you.
There's new business, there's retention. So one of them is retention. So I think that there's like 3 models that people use at renewal. The first one is the wait and see model. And I think you've worked for agencies that participated in what we call the wait and see model, which is like, don't poke the sleeping bear. If we call our customer, they're going to leave. I'm like, isn't that terrifying that if you talk to your customer, they're probably going to leave? That sounds incredibly scary. Okay.
If I'm proactive with my customer, they just won't stay with me.
Right. They just need to know I don't exist. Like I need to go so far under the radar screen that this is over. So now, what do you think the pros and cons of that model are?
I think it's less stressful in the mind of the team because they just get to react to whatever comes in.
True story. Yep.
But I think that it creates a lot more work for the team because they don't have a relationship and aren't being proactive with the client.
Yeah. So then they get burned out and stressed out because they're just taking 911 calls like swords are falling from the sky and we're just going to do this. And then we're going to wonder why our retention's lagging. We're not getting referrals because it's just, we'll wait and see. When they need us, they call us.
So how often do we refer our friends to an experience where we provide our own journey and have no actual experience?
Never.
We don't.
So that's one. The next one is my next favorite, which is the shop till you drop.
Ooh, if the rate changed even by $1, I'm going to reshop the whole account and spend 45 minutes doing it before I even reach out to the customer to re-underwrite it.
Well, yeah, there's two models. There's like a tree underneath this. So there's the ones that are like a report gets run and triggers go out to everybody that this policy has gone up X amount and some random arbitrary amount that somebody picked like 7 years ago. Right. And then the account managers get these in their activity list or report. And it's like, right? like, okay, so
all the things.
So, or better yet, the producers get it and then they just send the report to the account manager. They just shop all these people. I remember going to one agency and I started diving into this and I was like, okay, so can we get a list of all the reshops that happen? And I called the producers into a meeting and I said, here's the problem. I've audited this. We did 20 reshops and none of you idiots even called the person to talk about the reshop that the team spent an hour on. So they did 20 hours worth of work and you're complaining because new business quotes are backlogged. I was very feisty, Kelly, that day because I was so upset. And they're like, well, not all of them needed to be called. Some of them we didn't save them money.
That's what's about money, not coverage now. I see.
So what about the ones we did? Out of 20, there was not one phone call. I was like, and that's just a sampling, guys. So like, let's be honest. You just want to go check the rate. So in case the person calls you all pissy britches, you have something in your hand, which is ridiculous.
This one time I shopped it and it didn't look good. So we're just going to leave you there.
Yeah. Got really mad that day. So the goal is like, that's dumb. We don't reshop without a phone call.
Agreed.
And we don't reshop it because Steven sometimes doesn't care if its rates go up $300. Sometimes
I've got $300 a month. Let's clarify.
We miss the opportunity to cross. Let's go through all the reasons, right? Like I'm feeling it today. Like all the reasons you don't reshop someone before you talk to them. They may not care. They may have gotten Fluffy the pit bull and now you have a problem. They might have already sold that vehicle and you didn't know and now you're an idiot. They might have gotten a new roof and there's a discount you can put on there. There's like, and by the way, the math is this. I've studied this. You should reshop 10 people. You'll only get 5 of them on the phone when you deliver the reshop. And only half of those people are even going to move forward. So you've taken 75% of your time, lit it on fire because no one wants to have a difficult conversation with a customer.
Which it doesn't have to be difficult if you talk through the reasoning behind what happened.
Preach. That's the first model. Shop till you drop, where they just, everything's just by a report and everyone's just
so much quote.
Yeah, we just make it about money. I'm calling you to let you know have I got a deal for you. So the other one is this rate trigger comes up and they call people and they have a renewal review, which is like, okay, better than the other options we have discussed. However, don't go listening to this podcast and think that's your solution.
No.
Okay. It might be a Band-Aid. It is not your solution because I would like to call people whose rates went down.
Yeah. I would like to call people whose rates were neutral.
Yeah. I would like to call people who maybe have a new car or a new kid or like they're doing something like another client. They have a renewal that's come up. They sold this startup business 7 years ago. It was a bop that was like $5,000, right? No big deal. Well, in 7 years, they've grown to be like 3 million in revenue, still on the $5,000 bop because it just kept auto renewing and they do what they do. And then they like called the guy and they're like, oh crap, that policy is going up to $100,000. So one, the agency missed out on the revenue. Two, that person was grossly underinsured because they do what they do. We do what we do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and now the client's probably pissed off because they're like, my insurance like $5,000 is going to renew it this year, right? Wrong. It just went up, what, 7 bajillion %? I don't even know what the math on that is.
Yeah.
So we got that problem. When you only call certain people, one, the number you're picking is arbitrary. That's your number. That might not be my number, my mom's number, Steven's number. So you're just picking like, ooh, rabbit out of a hat. This is the number. Okay. Then
kind of like we decide how many renewal calls each person's going to do.
Right. Like, poof, we're just going to pick a number to have a number. And then The other second thing you're doing is you're only making it about rate. The thing that all you people call me up and tell me you don't be like, oh, I just want to be about price. We want to be about value.
We give good service,
We give great service,
but it's cheap.
you have to deal with it. So I struggle. I'm on the struggle bus with that one, right? Like, so better, not good, not great, not
Right.
the holy grail. The holy grail is calling every customer once a year to review their policies.
So let's take a step back. The very worst thing is to be reactive and not call anybody.
Yeah. And I feel like people put this whole pressure on themselves, like, oh my God, I have to be perfect. I'm like, even if you hit 80%, okay, you're okay.
Even if you only get the top 70% of your customers a call,
You're okay.
it's better than 0.
But like, you make those judgment calls based on what's going on. That this is a big thing. We talked about this. I keep telling agency owners, keep telling them this. I'm like, it is your call to make that they make less calls this week because you're short staffed. There's other meetings. There's another initiative.
It's a
COVID's
short
running
week.
through, the flu. It's a short week. Whatever. Kitchen refrigerator's broken and everybody's flipping out. Great. You go make 2 calls. Just don't make, you can make 2 today. Okay. Just go make 2. That is your call, not their call.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, agency owner, you can flex this by you making a decision, but just setting out there, we're going to make every renewal call every week. And when things happen, then you go to plan B. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that what you did? Why don't you tell your renewal call best tips? Because I'm just, it's been like a long week.
We've started, and this is where I go back and forth as well. Like, how do you choose renewal or expiration report? That's a whole other part of the renewal process. And we started out with the renewal. The download would come in, it would be assigned to somebody, they'd pick up the phone, and they would give them a call. So some weeks you would have, or some days you would have none, other days you would have 12. And at the end of the month, they averaged out to about 4 calls a day, right? I mean, if you have 1,000 customers, there's 5 days in a week and 52 weeks in a year. That's 4 calls a day, of which 2 to 3 of those aren't even going to answer. The one that does, hopefully we're ready. And it's a quick conversation.
Right.
And then sometimes one of those 3 that didn't answer will call back. Shocker.
Ooh.
But we went all in because I was like, this whole like pick 3 or pick 1 or pick 2 is kind of lame, right? Like if we're going to do it, we should just do it so we can get used to the flow.
Just do it.
Then we switched to but the staff became very price sensitive. Not the customer, the staff became price sensitive. I'm like, well, if I don't tell them their rate changed by $27 a year, I'm not doing my job.
Untrue.
And I was like, well, guess what? Look at this. And we started doing it off the expiration report before the renewal is downloaded.
I love
So
expiration
they
reports.
didn't know what the renewal rate was. And we just got to have a conversation with the client about coverage.
I love coverage.
And discount checking and building that relationship and letting the customer know before price was on the table that we were going to take a look at it and look out for them.
I love that about you. Well, and I go back and forth. Like I like having the rate, but I think people need to toughen up, right? It's like the rate is the rate. I don't know. Maybe it's been a minute since I've been behind a desk like that, right? I don't go to Starbucks and I'm really sorry that that's an $8 coffee.
No.
I don't go to the gas station like, I know gas prices, so I'm really sorry. Maybe you want to downgrade your gas.
Right. I'm like, my car takes premium and I'm not like, oh, today I'm just going to get regular because I saved 20 cents.
Listen, my mom caught COVID. So now our Christmas is like, first of all, retired people crack me up because I've never seen my aunts are retired and the 3 of them become a-holes this time of year because it's like, well, this and who's gonna make the nut bread? And they're like freaking out. And I'm like, I haven't bought a Christmas gift. My tree hasn't been watered in like 2 weeks. I'm just singing Let It Go. My mom called me last night. I'm just like, let it go, let it. And they call all of us kids. Do you know what your mom just did? I'm like, hold up, drama queens. Like you need to chill out. So she gets COVID and she's literally freaking out. Kelly, I can't make my Christmas cookies. I'm like, what will the world do without your 25 cookies? 25. She's like, I don't know, but I can't make them. I'm like, Mom, this is horrible because everybody's now nut-free, gluten-free, keto. What will people do on Christmas Day without my nut breads? Wow.
They're going to have it for New Year's instead, Ma.
Should we call the local news and get them to the front lawn?
Quick press release.
Press release. So talk about like people not caring. So I got somehow put on the cookie job. And I'm like, first of all, F that noise. Homegirl's not cooking 20 different types of cookies. I'm allergic to half the crap that
Look
she
out,
puts in
Trader
there.
Joe's, here I come.
Yeah, so I
Whole
called
Foods.
my person. Roberta called the Italian bakery and got us a whole platter of cookies, right? Damn, it was
Done and done.
$120 for freaking cookies. I was like, man, the cost of sugar and flour has gone up, but did you think I didn't do it? It was way better than me sitting there making cookies.
Yeah.
Someday I'll tell the story about how I'm trying to manage my mom to be more like corporate America because I said she needed to up her standards. Very good. But people, I don't know, like insurance is not Disney World. They're not going to like the price no matter what it is.
No, I think one of my favorite questions on the review sheet that we do is, how much money would you need to save in order for us to move forward with a new carrier?
Yes, I love that question. And
And I
people
was
don't
like,
ask it nearly enough.
and I literally was talking to some producers today, and I was doing some sales training, and I'm like, what if we just ask the question, just call them out on it? And they're like, well,
Right.
we can't do that. I'm like, oh, we can ask them a question. Why can't we ask? That's all we're doing when we're getting information is asking questions. So why can't we just say, okay, cool. So you're upset about the price. How much would you need to save in order for us to change companies? And close your mouth and listen.
That's my favorite.
And if they're like $100 a month, we can just like, we can laugh on the inside and be like, oh, well, that might not be very realistic. Let me check the markets real fast, right? And you can put them on a brief hold, or you can just hit your keyboard a whole bunch of times like you're typing. And then you're like, okay, cool. So I've looked into this and it looks like you're still with the most competitive market.
Just like I'm typing, but I'm not. So I think the big key that I just want to wrap up this blog banter with is also just the idea that if you don't have a process, what ends up happening is Cheryl does one thing, Susie does another thing, Betty does another thing, David's doing his own thing. They're making their own judgment calls on who to shop, what to do, who to call, who not to call. And even if you have a process, if you're not managing that process, the other half of it is they're doing their own thing anyway because no one's watching, right?
Right.
So just encourage everybody to have one process that everybody follows so that if I'm a client, I get the same experience that Steven does. And that's like a really big deal to me lately, where it's like, we can't all have our own processes, because what we see in our work is then Susie's retention rate is great, but she's backlogged on all of her tasks all the time.
Yep.
Right. David has a terrible retention rate, but he's caught up all the time. And then Betty has an okay retention rate, but is remarketing everybody under the sun and missing things. And like without one process that everybody is unified around, we end up with everybody running their own little agency under your agency.
Yep.
And by the grace of God, I get someone that has a good philosophy. But otherwise, you're going to wonder why is Susie always backlogged? Well, it's one of two things. She's over reshopping, or everybody who calls in, it's like the church fair, and she's having a 20-minute conversation with them about Betty and Timmy and who's in the hospital.
Absolutely.
So that's my take. What's your final words here?
Get a process.
Get
roll it out.
Get our 10 process course.
Get our 10 process course. Work it out and hold people accountable to it. Monitor an account.
I like that. Well, Steven, it's been a pleasure.
It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.